2013 has been designated as the year of the Korean War veteran. So what better way to start that year than to be in such a high-profile activity as the Rose Parade. You know, what I've told some veterans, I've said to them that this will be the parade that you never got. Now, back in 1953, when they came home, well, they came home to general indifference in some ways. You know, most Americans after World War II were ready to just move on with their life, and it got lost in the shuffle, the service that was rendered there. And I suppose what had some bearing on that was the outcome. You know, it ended in a stalemate at the 38th parallel, but what I've told veterans is that they've had a great victory. So we've tried to recast this as not the forgotten war, but as the forgotten victory. Because if you look at today's Republic of Korea and how that country has prospered as a direct result of what our veterans did there 60 years ago, they have an awful lot to be proud of.
The Korean War is known as the Forgotten War. When you see things like this, it kind of changes your mind. It's really not forgotten by a lot of people.
I'm just surprised and just so touched by the honor of being on this float, which is something the first time the government publicly acknowledged the contributions of the soldiers who fought in the Korean War.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime thrill. I mean, this doesn't happen to everybody. And no matter how active or what do you do in the community or how famous you get, you don't get to go into the Rose Parade.
It's been a long time since the Korean War, and to be a part of this, to make the public aware of what the Korean War was, means quite a bit to me.
I hope it sparks some interest. You know, I hope they look at it and say, wow, what is this really about? There are a lot of great stories behind this float.
The whole point of this is to make sure that it's not forgotten anymore, and to be a part of something like that is just really special, especially now that I'm in the Army too. That's what it means to me.
Of all the floats probably in the history of this Tournament of Roses, it's probably the most unique. This brings back the history that we can't escape. You can't escape the history of Korea.
I met so many families that never, their father or loved one never got any recognition, and they've already passed on. I know they would be very proud to see this replica of the memorial.
It's an honor. I'm writing to remember those guys.
Most people think that we get together in the last 3 weeks of the year with all these wonderful flowers and we put these floats together. It's very far from that. All floats start out as a drawing or a rendering, a piece of artwork.
We create a blueprint, and that blueprint is what I use to make the floats come to life. The chassis is selected, it's put on the floor. We get a sculpting crew on there and we start sculpting figures, and we'll turn it over to our screening crew. We basically glue aluminum window screen to the outside of the figures to give them a more solid look, and then we'll go ahead and spray cocooning, which is like a thick paint that spreads over the top and closes up all the openings that are in the screen and the chicken wire. Once that's done, we'll spray some foam on that. We have a special thickness so that we spray on this coating, we're able to walk on it still and also stick flowers and tubing into it. Once the foam gets sprayed out, we can hand it over to the art department.
The heads are being done by another artisan out of another material of varying amounts of flex foam, and she's actually taking it to a skeletal form first and building it up from there. So they're paying very, very particular attention to some of the features that are actually on the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C.
As a floral director for our company, I decide on what's going on at each one of our floats, whether it be dry or fresh material. And then I hire all the people that are going to be in charge of each individual float to make sure it's decorated properly. On the Korean War float, there is going to be a lot of flowers. There will be like 8,000 to 10,000 cattleyas, roses, carnations, just on the top of the deck alone, and that doesn't include the sides of the decks.
Never dreamt I'd ever be on this float of any kind. Thank you.
Invited now to an NBC special presentation, the 124th Rose Parade, presented by Honda.
Happy New Year, everybody, from all of us at ABC and ESPN.
El Desfile de las Rosas 2013.
Welcome to the Rose Parade, presented by Honda.
And the Pasadena Tournament of Roses present Oh, the Places You'll Go.
We have a very special float. This is really one of the most powerful, and talk about unforgettable as we remember the 60th anniversary of the Korean War, as this comes to us from the Department of Defense.
Although celebrating a solemn occasion, it brings taste and style in a historic depiction known as Freedom is Not Free. The colorful, meaningful tableau giving thanks to all of our veterans of the Korean War, their families. Depicted on the float is the Washington, D.C. Memorial.
Now we're going to have a little flyover here, too, to help celebrate.
And there it is. There's the B-2 bomber coming in to fly over the Department of Defense Freedom is Not Free float.
2013 con el Trofeo Nacional, la mejor descripción de la vida de Estados Unidos de América.
Eso, mira, escucha. Mira. Wow.
They were precisely on time, ladies and gentlemen. This won the award, by the way, for the national trophy, the best depiction of life in the United States.
Wow. Well, not only have we depicted these great heroes on that float, I want to recognize the 6 Korean War veterans. One of them, Medal of Honor, Hiroshi Miramura.
And says we remember those who, as the memorial says, went to a place they did not know.